I am doing book reviews. Obviously, I do them on this channel, but I am going to start submitting them to the Southern Historian. It's a magazine that is for graduate students, and it gives graduate students an opportunity to be published and kind of ease their way into scholarship. My particular goal is to develop my writing by way of reviews so I can ultimately begin papers. This helps me to develop my thought, to keep my thought, become brief and organized in my execution, and will ultimately assist me in my grasp of the information. Hence, my writing will be more concise and direct, ultimately making good materials for print. So that's what my goal is. So I don't have a problem if my videos are not excellent. I don't have a problem if my reviews are not excellent. I do want you guys to tell me, if they are or are not. I see the viewers are going up slowly, so I appreciate that. So apparently I'm doing something right. I'm getting off to a good start. But this is going to be a new component, and I want you guys to be aware of it because this is a project I see us doing together. But tonight's book, I pride myself that I have not been so immature that any book report, any book review I have made, I have not said, don't read this book. I believe every book, at the very least, will bring about questions. And this is one of those books. Sorry about that. And the book that we're talking about tonight is Beyond the Rope: The Impact of Lynching on Black Culture and Memory. And this book is by Carlos K. Hill, Dr. Carlos K. Hill. Just left Texas Tech University, and as I do not remember which university is at now. I mean, this just happened since the book went out. I believe it was this year. And this was done under Cambridge University Press. I'm not a big fan of books that come out of Cambridge Press. They seem to have a slant to them, and this book was not an exception. In sum, this book is not stated to be so, but I would say the best case scenario, in looking at it through the best light, it's an attempt at a historiography of lynching. And it begins with the fact that in 1880, before lynching was racialized, before lynching became the symbol of white supremacy, the author points out that lynching was a part of black vigilantism. It was implicit because that's how, there was such a major point to be made. It was implicit that white people began lynching because the black people were doing it. I do not believe that is true. I do not believe that is accurate. It was not stated, but it was implied because it did not speak of the ratio of lynching in the black community next to lynching in the white community, which community began it first. So if I only talk about this community lynching in 1880 and not speak about the other history of lynching by the dominant community at the time, which would be Anglo-Saxons, it appears as though that lynching actually came out of the black culture, which I thought at least should be explained clearly. The book is broken down into 3 parts. Not only does the author want to exhibit the fact that lynching began in the black community per this book, but that once lynching became a symbol of white supremacy, cognitively and overtly, the black community shunned black vigilantism that lynched other black people, which implied that was the only reason black people stopped lynching people. Because that supported the whites' lynching of black people. So it was implicit that that's the only reason why black people stopped. And to say that there was a network of powerful communication amongst the black community, I think is a leap. And I didn't feel there was substantial support in his documentation that could speak for the black community and why an activity ceased. Now, is it probable? Yes. But again, there's a slant that's coming with this that seems to be indicative of something that's not being said in the writing. It's kind of where you have to read between the lines. The book is written into 3 parts. It focuses on newspaper articles and a comparison and contrast of black papers and white papers and how lynching is represented between the two. Then the next chapter is about, this will be chapter 3, because the first chapter is about vigilantism. Then you have the newspapers. Then you have literature of the time being compared and contrasted, black writers and their take or their depiction of lynchings. And then the last chapter is covering oral histories. Further, in his argument, Dr. Hill is saying that blacks overtly created narratives to empower black people by way of lynching. They either made a narrative as a victimization, which I don't see how that's not a victimization. If people are hanging women and children and men for things that they did not do, I think the victimization is probably just reporting that's what was unique. He said it was either consoling, where you're making the person a hero, that they fought, to save their property, and they fought to save their family, and they got lynched for their efforts, but they were strong people. Or victimization, where, oh, the poor person got lynched and, just did not get a fair shake. Law and justice wasn't on their side. Horrible thing. Now, what I found unique was that the author would portray these acts as clandestine acts, as opposed to the other side of the story, where whites had depicted lynchings as justice for wrongdoing, when many times we know it was boredom, or the ability to do it. So we're going to pick up with the rest of the concerns. We now have how it's broken down in the principal argument, and then we're going to bring it home in the next video.